Hello friends, welcome back to this session. In this session, we are going to understand code deploy, the AWS CI/CD pipeline, and here in this session, basically we'll focus on the code deploy service. The previous session we have understand how code commit works, how code build works. Here in the session, we are going to understand how code deploy will works. So let's try to understand how the overall AWS CI/CD works with the code deploy, which used from the integration of the GitHub. Okay, so in the session, we're going to discuss what is the steps we are going to cover here. So steps here basically we need a GitHub repository where the your web application code has been written. Second one, we need the instance which having the prior proper EC2 instance role, basically that help us to deploy the code deploy agent. Second one is we need a code deploy agent on the EC2 instance, which basically execute the code deploy code and it will deploy the application over the EC2 instance. Next, we need a code deploy application and deployment group where we'll create the deployment and that will trigger the code checkout from the repository and it will deploy over the target system. So here our target system is the EC2 instance. So we're going to execute all these steps in our demo section. So let's start. So let's move to our AWS console. Okay, so first we need the code base which basically help us to deploy the web app. So I have the sample Linux app. I'll say the same link over the description so you can use the same for your demo purpose. Okay, so this is the sample app Linux app. I have cloned over my Visual Studio. You can check the same here though. I have the same content over my Visual Studio and I have pushed the same to my GitHub account. Okay, let us see the role part. Okay, so first we need to deploy EC2 instance and for that we need a service role. So I'm just going to create a role here. Okay, let's create a role here. AWS service. I'll choose the EC2 here and just click the next. Okay, we need to give the two permission policy. You can see here in our steps. So that is a AWS EC2 role for the AWS code deploy. So Amazon EC2 role. Let us search. So we are selecting this Amazon EC2 role for the AWS code deploy. Second one is Amazon SSM manage instance core. So we'll search same. So here if we SSM manage instance core policy. So this two policy we are going to select and create a role here. I'm just creating the next. Okay, giving the name EC2 instance role. Okay, just click in the next here. Okay, so our first step, the EC2 instance role has been created successfully here. And let's wait for a while till it's completed. Yeah, it's completed. So let me go to the EC2 dashboard here. There is no instances running. I'm just going to create a new instance. Let's create the new instance here in the same region. I'm just creating the new instance. Let's give the name Linux sample app. Okay, let's see the Amazon Linux will take the template. The machine image will take the Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Then T2 macro creator will going to take, and key we don't need, so I'm just not taking the key. Security group we need, and sticking the my previous group, this group having the roles allow with the HTTP port 80, HTTPS port 443 and SSH port 22. So that basically required to while doing the troubleshooting and accessing our app through the HTTP. Okay, So in advanced section we are not giving anything else, so let's just launch the instance. So instance has been launched successfully. Let's go to the instance here. Okay, so instance is launched here, but it's still not in the state running. So let's wait for a while. Okay, so instance has been launched successfully. It's running. I'm just going to apply my IAM role here. So EC2 instance role, what we have created just before this one, so I'm attaching that role here. So now my role has been attached here. Let's connect the instance here. Just connecting the instance here to our SSH. So it's basically doing the connection establishing. Okay, so this is connected, and now let's go to the steps just to check what steps we are following. So GitHub repository has been done, provisioning the instance, that is we are working. So EC2 instance role created. Now in the second part, instance has been also created. Now we want to validate the code deploy agent. So to validate code deploy agent, we have to run the service agent status command. So I'm just clicking there, and there is command to validate basically my code deploy agent is installed or not. So let's go back to the SSH here, and let's run the same command here to validate whether the code deploy agent is there or not. Okay, so this agent is not there, then we have to install the agent. So here the link is mentioned that how to install the code deploy over the Amazon Linux 2. So let's click here, and the steps here mentioned, you can see these steps we have to execute to install the code deploy. So I'm just taking the steps from here and follow the same steps. Okay, I'm just doing the Ruby install, giving the -5 just to automatically giving the yes by doing the installing the package. So this is basically how to deploy the code deploy agent, installing the part here. So let's go for the next one, that is a wget install. So I'm installing the wget here. Okay, that is already on later steps. So this is the optional steps we are skipping. We should go in the EC2 directory, that is also there. Now we have to download this package, so I'm just going to download, just giving the wget and downloading this package of code deploy. So this is the code deploy package downloaded. Now we'll give the permission to that package. So I'm giving the permission, executing permission. Now we are going to install the package using this command install auto. So this is actually installing the code deploy agent over the EC2 instance. Now code deploy agent has been installed. Let's run the service check command whether that install agent is properly installed or not. Okay, see here it's installed properly and it's running here. So now code deploy agent has been installed successfully. So our steps to the provisioning of instance has been completed. So we installed the we created the EC2 instance with the service role, and on the EC2 instance we deploy the code deploy agent. Now let's go to the code deploy service, and we're going to create a, let me close this one, this is also not required. Okay, in the code deploy we're going to create a application here. So I'm just going to create the application. We'll give the demo app. Okay, which platform we want to deploy, so that's EC2 on premises we are going to use. If you want to do Lambda or ECS, that also you can do, but here we take the example of EC2 instance. So next, this is completed. Now on the application we have to create a deployment group. So under application we need to create a deployment group. So I'm creating deployment group here. So let's give the demo app deployment group. Okay, and here we have to give the service role. Since we have not created a service role, let's go to the IAM role here and let's create the role here. So we need a deployment group for the code deploy under AWS service. We have to search code deploy. So just click on the code deploy. And the code deploy basically three types. EC2 instance will take the code deploy default one. Create the service role here. I will give the code deploy role. We will take the copy. Let's create the role here. Okay, so role has been created. Let's move back to the code deploy group. I'm just going to refresh. Let's do again. Okay, let me create the code deploy group. So we will do demo. Group. We can give the service role. So this role we have created. Now we're going for the deployment your application. We'll take the in place here. There is a two option, in place and blue and green. So here we're going with the in place. Okay, so environment setup, basically we're going to deploy over the EC2 instance that we'll give here, and we have to give our target instance. So the key, the tag key will give, and here what application we have given. Since there is a two instance is running, I think there is one more terminated instance is running. Let's see, this is a Linux sample app that will take simple app. Okay, sample app. So Linux sample app will take. Okay. Now this is the configuration. Target is done. Now let's go with the next. And the deployment setting will take the default. Load balancer we don't need because we are directly deploying on the EC2 instance, and these are the default is disabled. Okay, let's create the deployment group here. Okay, deployment group has been created successfully. You can see here. Now under deployment group, now we have to do actual deployment. So configuration part is done. Now we have to do the deployment. So I'm just doing the create deployment here. So the source and destination it's already mentioned, but here the source of code we have to mention. So this is the deployment application. You can see we have created this, and now this application, and this is the deployment group. Now we have to select from what source we have to take the code. So here I need to take the GitHub. GitHub, this is my alias. Since my alias is already connected, but if you are doing the first time, it will give this button connect to GitHub, and you have to click this button and you have to give the authorization from the your GitHub account. Since I already connected, that's why it's showing the directly repository name. I'm just taking the alias name, and I need to give that my repository name here. So this is the repository name. Now commit ID we have to give. So what is the latest commit that we have to give? And let me give the commit ID here. So I'm giving the commit ID. Okay, now this, if you want to give the some description, that's okay. We'll take the default overriding, it's fine, and the disable. That's all. I'm just creating the create deployment here. So this will take the code from the GitHub and it will deploy over the EC2 instance. So let's see, and let's try to see this process. And in case of the pass fail, we have to see the both case here, so we can validate and do debug over the cycle. So if see, this is the deployment is just now, and this is the overall status. So the given the steps has been created successfully. You can see these different steps has been completed successfully. This is the overall status of the deployment. Okay, so it's a got successful. Now let's go back to the EC2 instance. Let me click the instance and let's go the public DNS. Let me open here. Okay, so I'm open this public DNS. Since our application running on the HTTP, let me remove the HTTP. Yes, so this should be access to the HTTP. So here you can see this, we can access our application. The congratulations S3 cloud of example is here. Let's go to the our code base. You can see it's coming from the index.html file, and this is the message it's given here. Congratulations, cloud of example. So this is actually deployed our application over the EC2 instance, and the steps is clear cut mentioned here. This is pretty much straightforward. Just you have to make sure the cloud deploy agent and the relevant service role to assign to prior your service like EC2 instance and code deploy application service.
If you have any question or any doubt, feel free to ask in the comment section below. I will answer you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. Bye and have a nice day.